Today we're going to be looking at Adore in the color Aquamarine. So first thing you may notice is that my swatches are labeled 1 through 12. I do just want to say that is not synonymous with hair levels. Basically, I do different video clips and pictures throughout the video, so the numbers just help us keep track of each swatch. My swatches are not virgin hair, which means they've been chemically colored, treated, or bleached at some point in their existences. 1 is pink, 2 is a cool tone gray, 3 is a deeper natural red, 4 is black, and then 4 to 11 is a range that goes to platinum blonde, and then 12 is like a toned version of number 11. So to start, I will be taking the color directly from the container and I will apply it to the top of each swatch. Then some people do like to dilute the dyes, so I will do a diluted version at the bottom of each swatch. Please keep in mind everyone's hair is different, which means everyone's hair will take color differently, plus different screens and monitors can make colors look different, so please just use this video as a reference for how this could possibly turn out for you.
Sunshine, it's a beautiful thing. You wake me up right on time. The summer day gave us life. Top down sunshine, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, we cooling in the back with the drinks, making us a little bit tipsy, baby. Yeah, I just know, baby, I just know. And I know that you had me on your mind with the look on your face, turn a little bit frisky, baby, I just know. You wake me up right on time. The summer day gave us life. Top down sunshine, it's a beautiful thing. You wake me up right on time. The summer day gave us life.
For the diluted section, we're going to do an 8:1 ratio. So that's going to be 1 part of the color to 8 parts diluter. I do get questions sometimes about what diluter is. So quick, simple answer is that it's basically something that lightens the color of a semi-permanent dye. Some brands do have their own version of a diluter that you can use, which will usually give you a slightly more smooth result. But because I do so many different brands and textures and stuff, I always just use a plain white conditioner as my diluter. I'm gonna let these sit for about 2 hours. I will then rinse them out, and when they are dry, I will meet you back here and we can do some comparisons. I just want to quickly remind everyone that my swatches are not virgin hair. Virgin hair tends to be less porous, which basically means that it can struggle to take or hold on to semi-permanent color. My swatches did take on pretty much most, if not all of the swatches. So I just want to put that out there that my swatches may not turn out like your hair. Now, I also will say that a pattern I've noticed with doing this for a while, turquoisey colors tend to be quite pigmented despite the brand. Something about the pigment just seems to take better on a lot of hair types, which means if your hair struggles to take color or is a little bit darker, it can be a good color option. But you might notice even on my swatches, the darker the hair gets, the more green that comes through with the swatches. And if that's not what you want, then I might reconsider. But overall, this was a very, very pigmented color. So 1 was originally pink. I would say today that that is our most cool tone swatch. I would have to assume, usually like red and blue, pink and blue, they will turn purple a lot of the time. So in this case, the pink underneath kind of shifted the undertone towards a slightly more cool versus warm, which means there's less green in the pink swatch. And that could be a solution if this color is a little bit too green for you, like you're worried about it fading a little bit green, you might be able to add a drop of pink. But again, I would do a strand test since it can depend on your hair and how it absorbs color. But again, with this dye being quite pigmented, I feel like I diluted it a pretty good amount, and the pink is completely covered on the bottom of the swatch as well. I would say it just looks less turquoisey and a little bit closer to maybe like a cyan 2 was the gray swatch. That one I would say turned out pretty similar to the lighter swatches like 11 and 12. In my case, it looks actually slightly warmer than 12, but definitely more muted. So 12 has a little bit more saturation. Another way to put it is that it's a little bit dustier, a little bit more gray, but just barely for the number 2. I'm going to group 3 in with 5 and 6, even though I would say the 3 actually looks a little bit closer to 5. The overall idea of what happened is similar to number 6 as well. So there's definitely a difference on 3, 5, and 6. But because the hair itself was a lot darker, the color also turned out a lot darker. Out of the 3 of them, I think the number 3 looks the most dark, but the 5 is pretty similar. I actually think the red undertones in the number 3 swatch toned out a bit of the green from the turquoise, because 5, I do see a touch more green coming through. It is very slight, but the 3 swatch does look a little bit more cool in comparison. And technically it did cover on the diluted part of the swatches as well. Like 3 does not look like a natural red anymore. 5 doesn't necessarily look like a dark brown anymore. But like if you're looking at the blonde swatch, for example, it definitely doesn't have that same bright blue look to it. It's a lot more muted. For 5, it's very green. It's really hard to describe the color. On 3, it does look a little bit more smoky on the diluted sections. So it's almost like a very, very smoky brown with a slight tinge of blue. And then on 5, it's very similar, except the tinge is a little bit more green. Hopefully that sounds right. 4, I see a very, very slight difference, but I don't know if I would recommend trying this on your hair. Honestly, it's just that the top part of the 4 looks a little bit different than the diluted part, but it is so minimal. I can't even describe what the difference is. I'd have to assume that the cool undertone kind of makes it look a little bit darker, which is crazy considering it is a black swatch. But I don't know if it's enough to even look like a blue black. Especially if you have like jet black hair, I would be a little bit more weary of trying this, but I can't lie, I do see a slight difference there. But again, that could be my swatch because my swatch is not a virgin black hair. So I did group 6 in with 3 and 5. It is a lot lighter than those 2, but I'd see a lot of the natural tones kind of coming through, especially on the diluted section. The top, not as much, but it is very green. So it did cover on the direct eye portion, just not as much on the diluted section. Interestingly, 7 actually took the color better than 8. And I do have that happen sometimes. I will say I don't know if it is the swatches themselves, like if they're different people's hair, and maybe that's why it took like that, or process of how they got these colors. I'm not totally sure. It truly could just be that the person with number 7's hair, whoever that was, their hair could just be way more porous, because 6 and 8 actually don't look too far off from each other. It does look like 6 didn't take it as well as 8 because I can see a little bit more color, a little bit more saturation on 8, but it is kind of nice to see the variation of what could possibly happen for you and how porosity could maybe play a role in how your hair will take the color. So usually when brands show their hair color, I'm pretty sure they show it over platinum blonde hair. So number 11 would be that, and it's likely the more intentional version of the color. When it comes to the direct eye portion, 12 actually doesn't look too far off from 11. 10 and 9 do look slightly more green in comparison, with 9 actually looking a little bit more green than 10. If we're talking diluted sections, the 12 looks the most cool tone out of these 4. And then as the swatches get a little bit darker, they get a little bit more green. So I see a very tiny bit more green in the 11 diluted part, and then 10 is a little bit more green, 9 is a little bit more green. I have to presume that is the undertone of the hair mixing with the color itself. If your hair is very, very yellow, because I know sometimes some people's hair will bleach very yellow, you might actually have a better outcome if you tone your hair first. But if it's not too yellow, then your hair should be okay. If you're looking for the more blue versus green anyways that you can get from this color. Now for comparisons, I have done a handful of different turquoises. So I figure we'll do probably one of the most popular ones first, which is going to be Arctic Fox in Aquamarine. This is comparable to number 12. Comparable to number 11. 10. And comparable to number 9. So I did Aquamarine a long time ago. I used to do 2 separate diluted parts instead of just 1 diluted part, and I used to do my numbering a little bit different. So that is why the swatches look a little bit off from how they look now. I think you can see it in the diluted section, but even if I cover up the diluted section for like the platinum blonde, Aquamarine in and of itself does have a slight, very, very slight bit more green to it. I can even see it on the toned swatch. It just comes out even more as you dilute it, as the dye mixes with the yellow tones in the hair. So if you actually like that more kind of oceany bluish green color, Aquamarine could be good. Aquamarine is also very pigmented, just like a lot of aquamarines are. But if we look at number 9 and 10, it does seem like the Adore took a little bit better. But on that note, I do think that the Adore by itself is a touch darker, so that could be why, but it could also just be a little bit more pigmented. I always very much appreciate anyone who puts their experiences with these dyes in the comments, because it can be very helpful for anybody who is looking to do their hair. So feel free to comment below your experiences. The other comparison I wanted to look at today is actually Punky Color in the color Turquoise. This is comparable to number 12, 11, 10, and number 9. This is probably my most similar comparison, so if you are struggling to find one brand but not the other, they could be good dupes for each other. I have a feeling based off of the diluted section that I probably didn't dilute the Punky Color as much as I diluted the Adore, because I was actually going to do a 4:1 with the Adore at first, but I saw that I could push it a little farther, so I did. But I'm pretty sure if I did the 4:1 for the Adore that it would look similar to the Punky Color Turquoise. On the Platinum Blonde and the toned swatch, I think the Punky Color actually might be just a touch darker and maybe a touch more green, but not as much as the Aquamarine is. Aquamarine is more green than the Punky Color. But then if you look at like 9 and 10, they actually turn out pretty similar on there. So again, if you have any experiences with either of these, feel free to let us know. And if you are looking for something similar but leaning a little bit more cool in undertone, the one and only Neon Blue was going to be my next comparison. That one is a tiny bit lighter than the Adore, and to me I saw just a tiny little bit of dustiness, just barely. It's not super noticeable, honestly, but that little bit of dustiness, in my opinion, made it look a little bit more cool in undertone as well. So I would say that's the next in line for even more cool tone than this, if that is what you are looking for. All right, so now I would like to look at the before and after clips. Those, as well as anything past this point in the video, will be done in natural lighting.
Drinks making us a little bit tipsy, baby. Yeah, I just know, baby, I just know, and I know that you had me on your mind with the look on your face, turn a little bit frisky, baby, I just know, you wake me up right on time. The summer day gave us life. Top down sunshine, it's a beautiful thing. You wake me up right on time. The summer day gave us life. Top down sunshine, it's a beautiful thing. I got my toes in the sand. I got my hands in your hair. There's not a care. Nobody compares with you, baby. Summer breeze, birds playing in the trees. Looking back at all sweet memories. Summer, 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 summer breeze. The way you got me grooving, my feet can't stop. No street to hold me down. You wake me up right on time. The summer day gave us life. Top down sunshine, it's a beautiful thing. You wake me up right on time. The summer day gave us life. Top stop it. Your eyes like tropics, no rushing, just loving. Sunshine, shorelines, this is our time. Heart on a roll, your hand turned another stone. The things you showed me got me falling all over. I'll be thinking about you and the beautiful daylight music. Make a groove to the tune, I'ma make you my girl. Oh, so soon.
I hope my video helped. If you have a request, I do have a link below to a Google form you can fill out. Just remember, I only do brands that do not test on animals. Thank you so very much to my patrons, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.